Hey everybody, Eric aka Core Geek here. I post quite a bit of work in progress photos on Facebook and Instagram. One of the products I use quite often is called Epsilon. Every time I post those work in progress photos, I do get a lot of questions about Epsilon. What is it? How do I use it? Does it eat foam? How do you finish with it? All that kind of stuff. I've been promising a video for quite some time, so I'm finally making it. Yay, aren't you happy? This is gonna be a two-part video. This first part is an FAQ. I'm gonna run down the pros and cons and kind of give you an overview of why I like it. And the second part will be a working video. I'll go through all the way from mixing it to prepping it for paint. Hopefully you'll learn something and decide whether Epsilon's right for you or not. So here we go. So Epsilon, what is it? Well, like I mentioned in the intro, it's a brushable resin. It's made by Smooth On, which I'm gonna just say disclaimer, I'm not being paid by Smooth On to do this video. I'm doing it out of the kindness of my heart because it's a product I like and I get a lot of questions about it. It's a two-part resin. This is the trial kit. I know it doesn't look like much. This stuff spreads pretty far. My very first trial kit, I think I coated three pretty large props multiple times, as well as a half body of armor several times. So don't make the mistake of buying a gallon of this stuff. You'll probably never use it up unless you're building a dragon or something. Why is it great? Well, it's great because it's safe to use directly on foam. You can use it on EVA foam, which is your floor mats or your craft foam, but you can also use it on XPS foam. XPS is that construction foam, comes in pink and blue, and most products will melt that stuff. You can safely also cover that with types of glue, but Epsilon's specifically made to coat that type of foam and not melt it. So the pros of Epsilon, what are they? Well, I've already kind of mentioned the first one, and that is it's made for foam. So you can easily coat foam and have it ready to go. Epsilon's also sandable. So when you put it on, you can sand it down to whatever finish you want. You can even add more to it if you think you need a thicker covering. It does make a hard shell coating, so that's another pro. A good example is the Fierce DD Link sword that I made. The helix blades on this are made out of XPS pink insulation foam, and they're only hardened with Epsilon. Now to get this finish super smooth, I did do a lot of filler on the Epsilon, and then a lot of primer and a lot of filler and a lot of primer. Kind of spot filling that until I got it to the look I wanted. This sword only weighs about 2.5 pounds. It's over 5 feet long. So it's filler compliant. If you live in an area where there's a lot of humidity, it's also not sensitive to moisture or humidity. So that's another bonus. So just to kind of go through them all. It won't eat foam, it's sandable, it makes a hard shell coating, it's filler compliant, and it's not sensitive to moisture. Those are some pretty good positives, I think. In the cons category, if you do much reading around the web on Epsilon, you'll probably run across somebody talking about how it's really prone to cracking. And that's true. Epsilon will crack if you don't use it in the right situation. A good example of that is this armor piece from Fierce DD Link. I only coated this on one side with Epsilon, and part of it was a test to see how it was going to hold up. And what I got was some cracking along these edges right here where this tends to flex. I think a way around that would be to coat both sides if you're going to do armor. So you may or may not want to use this for armor. I find it really usable on props because it's three-dimensional. You can coat it all the way around. It has even tension and it's generally not going to flex. Things like EVA armor like this, it's already prone to flexing because it's foam. But again, it might be mitigated if you coat the back as well. I haven't tried that yet, but that's my guess. Another con, if you don't already own one, is you need a scale to mix it. It has a certain ratio that you have to mix part A and part B to, and you can't do that without a scale. It has to be done by weight and not by volume. Probably the last con is it will leave brush lines if you're putting it on really thick and you're using a standard haired brush. My way around that is to use foam brushes. It's maybe not necessarily a huge con because you can just buy foam brushes, but you will need quite a few because eventually it makes the brush all gooey and weird and you have to toss it and use another brush. So foam brushes are the way to go if you want to get a nice smooth application. Other than those three things, prone to cracking, need a scale to mix, and brushes, I really can't think of too many other cons for Epsilon. In summary, I thought I'd show you the full Fierce DD Link armor. This was all finished in Epsilon in the method I described, where I applied several coats of Epsilon, sanded it, primer, spot putty primer, until I got the clean flatness that I wanted. Now I think this is a great example because even though it's made to slip on by flexing it open like this and then sliding it onto the body, it hasn't cracked in any place, other than this piece on the front that's been flexed. So in the right application, Epsilon can work really well. So I guess in conclusion, I would say that it's not for every piece, but if you selectively use it on the right piece, it can look and work great. And it probably mostly works best on 360 items where you don't have a lot of flexing one way or the other. I hope this was informative to you, and I hope it helps you decide whether Epsilon is the right product for you. And if you decide that it is, keep an eye out for part 2. I'm not sure when I'm gonna have that done. It's probably gonna be a while. And like I said, I'll go through the process of how to mix it using the scale, best practices of how to use it so it doesn't kick too fast, and how to apply it. So see you then.